Are we still banking? Well, there have been a lot of things going on in the Britt household, and we want to update you all. My name is Carmen.
And I'm Darius. And since the last time we recorded a video, we actually welcomed our second child into our homes and our hearts.
Yes, we did. Our second baby girl. And what we didn't realize with our second child was our maternity leave was going to look a lot differently than what we pictured. Our baby girl has spent many days in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, and we have been in and out of the hospital for the past 5 months. And she has a rather serious diagnosis that has completely changed our lives and changed everything that we do. And we wanted to make sure that we take a moment and just update you all, let you know where we've been, what we've been up to, and just give you a life update.
Right. And it even drives home the idea of owning your own lifestyle, because when you own your own lifestyle, of course, life happens. But how do you make adjustments to those things when you own your own lifestyle? And those experiences also help you identify if you actually do own your own lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to come and make this video with you all today, because we have 8 tips that we want to share with you as far as how we feel that you all can take ownership of your lives, because it wasn't until we had our second daughter where it made us check and stress test everything that we've been doing to make sure that we're actually owning our own lifestyle like we've been telling you. And it was an amazing moment for us to recognize that we could take a half of a year off and be at our daughter's bedside and know that the systems and the processes and everything that we have had in play are continuing to work while we can be with our family.
So let's jump right into the very first point, which is to accept responsibility. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. There's a lot of instances during our experience where we could have been a victim to the circumstance in which we were experiencing our daughter. The very first time we saw our daughter, she couldn't breathe. So are we a victim of that? Or do we take responsibility and appreciate the moments that we do have with her and move forward with that?
And it's important to note that everything that we talk about on the Wealth Nation channel has always been about money. And the concept and theories that we talk about all relate to ownership. And the reason why we're changing gears slightly in this video is because what we recognize is money doesn't mean a thing if you don't have time, right? Money can be printed, time can't. And with the experiences that we've recently gone through, it made us realize that it is never, ever, ever been about money. We knew that, but I don't know if we verbalized it to you. It's never been about money. It's always been about time. It's always been about freedom and what you're doing to create more freedom and ownership in your lives. So that's why we want to share these points with you before we continue going into them, so we can make sure that we're connecting with you guys. Because if you are always out chasing money, you're chasing the wrong thing. What we need to be chasing is, how do we free up our time so we can do the things that we actually want to be doing in our lifestyle?
Right. And when it comes to owning your own lifestyle, the very first thing you have to do is accept responsibility, because it gives you control instead of allowing someone else to have control. It allows you to be in the driver's seat instead of being a victim and having life happen to you. Yeah. Life happens for you.
And just reiterating that there's so many things that we can do, that we can think of ourselves as a victim, but it isn't until that we take that mentality away and embrace what's happening and do something about it. So like we said, point number 1 is accept responsibility. Point number 2 is stop blaming. Still going into that victim mode. Everything happens for you. So you have to take a moment and recognize the things that you're going through in life are an opportunity for you to learn and for you to experience what it is that you are supposed to learn and experience. So take a moment, stop right now. And instead of blaming, try to understand why the things that you're going through right now are happening. Embrace them, learn from them, and figure out how you can be better. Because if you're always trying to chase being different, it's so much harder to be better than it is to be different.
And I like the fact that you said that. And what also comes to mind is just the rhythm of cause and effect, in which we may wake up today with an idea and not understand the energy that we put into that day is going to dictate the results that we get by the end of that day. Yeah. So when we stop blaming other people for how our day went and stop accepting the fact that we created it, regardless of what the outcome is, we created that experience or that result. then we can move forward and start having more control over our lives.
Absolutely. Which should lead us into the next point, number 3, which is about forgiveness. How many of us are living our lives full of anger, full of resentment, full of whatever you want to call it, and that's keeping you from moving to the next thing because you're still mad at Joe, Jim, and Susie about whatever happened 300 years ago. And it's just lingering. So forgiveness isn't just about you being upset or mad at someone else. It's about maybe an experience. Oh, I should have done this. I should have made $1 million by now. I should have, could have, would have done whatever. Right now, you can't bring the past into the future. The past is the past for a reason. And tomorrow is a present. So you can't continue to bring the past into the present thinking that things are going to be different. So right now, I want you to forgive whomever you're mad at, whatever thing that didn't happen to you. I want you to just take a moment, like we said, accept responsibility, stop blaming, and forgive so that you can move forward and become better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't have said that better. I mean, you said it so good, I'm ready to move on to the next point.
Let's move on then.
So the next point is change your attitude. When it comes to changing our attitude, what positions or what places are we putting ourselves in? Are we upset with our employer? Are we upset with our coworkers? Do we not like what we're doing because of our coworkers or our employer? It's our attitude that dictates how we feel about the particular situation that we're in. Mm-hmm. If we're in a situation that we don't like, we have the ability to change our attitude because our attitude is a decision that we get to make, that we personally get to make. Mm-hmm. I can't say that Carmen made me mad. I decided to be mad. I can't say that.
That's growth. We've come a long way, ladies and gentlemen, for both of us. Hashtag marriage, if you know what I'm talking about.
I can't say that my coworker made me upset. It's the fact that I decided to be upset. Mm-hmm. I can't say that it was my employer. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I'm upset because I'm not getting paid what I feel like I deserve. Yeah. I made a decision to accept that.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional as you're saying this because of everything that we've been through. It's still near and dear to our hearts. And with what we've been through with our daughter, we're saying all this. Let me back up. We're saying all this because Darius and I have had to go through this 8-step process very quickly in the past few months. Mm-hmm. And I got emotional because of as far as changing our attitude. When our daughter was in the NICU, you know, we could easily just be like, oh, we have to visit our daughter in the hospital. Right.
Oh, we have to stay tonight and sleep on this couch.
Yeah. And it just made us, we had to change our frame of reference and not be a victim, stop blaming. Right. And so if anything, the attitude that we took was we get to see her.
Right. We get an opportunity to spend more time with her because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, but what is promised or what is a gift to us is right now. Yeah. So right now is our our moment that we have to really be present because it is a present.
It is a present. It's a gift. And that's why it's so important for you all to understand how you have to change your attitude. It doesn't matter what you're going through in life. You see how I am right now, emotional basket over here. But it's just so important. And it's not, you know, as drastic maybe of what we've been through, but it's also just the opportunity of what are you going through right now and how can you spin it in a positive form that will allow you to keep pushing so that you can be better.
Right. That's why it took so long for us to record a video. Yeah. It's because when we talk and when we share things, we share our personal experiences and our growth. Mm-hmm. We try not to talk about things that we haven't experienced because you can't be truthful. Yeah. When that's the case. Yeah. But when you talk about your experiences and how the things around you have made you the person that you are, that's the same thing that happens when we're able to connect with somebody that's on the same wavelength.
Yeah. All right. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. You all know how we are. Like you said, it's all about transparency and keeping it real with you guys. And we want to be genuine. And hopefully you feel that. The next point is number 5, deciding what you want in life and going about changing your attitude and all of those things. There's so many different ways in which Darius and I could have gotten to the point where we are these days in our lives. But the one thing that I would say we were determined to do was to figure out what we wanted, because we did what we were good at. And we realized that what we were good at didn't bring us happiness. It brought in money. It got us comfortable. It got us cozy. But at the end of the day, we still weren't happy. And we were continuing to trade time for money, time for money over and over again, doing the things that we were good at, but didn't necessarily doing the things that fulfilled us. And that's why we want you again today to realize that maybe there's something that you're doing today that you're good at, but it isn't bringing you fulfillment.
And how do you know that? You won't know that until you take the time to sit and relax and listen to that voice in your head. A lot of times what we like to do is we like to look at social media. We like to watch TV as a way to distract us, to escape from life or from what we're going through, when we should be running to it and sit in a quiet place and listen to ourselves and our thoughts and understand exactly what it is that we want and what fulfills us.
And you're going to know, you all know, but maybe you're not being honest with yourselves. When you get up and your alarm goes off, how many of you are probably hitting the snooze button? How many of you are regretting that your alarm is going off? You already know if you're doing something that doesn't fulfill you, because if you were doing something that was bringing you fulfillment, you'd get up and be excited. You'd beat the alarm clock.
Yeah, you wouldn't need an alarm clock.
Right? So be honest and truthful with yourself. Are you doing something that is making you happy? Are you accepting responsibility? Are you blaming? We did it. We're not pointing the finger at you, right? We had our corporate jobs and we're like, oh, my boss, oh, my coworker, oh, my this, oh, my that. We're not accepting any responsibility because it's everyone else's problem. Are you doing that?
Right. And we're having this conversation not from a standpoint of our job, but we're having this from a standpoint of our child. Our child allowed us to have an experience that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise have. Our child allowed us to stress test our lifestyle, because that's the only way we could have been stress tested. We didn't see any of this coming. We didn't see us having this experience. Matter of fact, we didn't even plan for it. We planned for a healthy child just like everybody else does. But what happens when you don't get what you planned for? What happens? Are you going to go back to blaming? Are you going to go back to being a victim? Are you going to go back to woe is me? Are you going to go back to being negative and say that this happened to me? No, you're going to go back to your foundation of what you've learned up until this point in your life. And what we've learned up until this point in our life is that we need to be positive. We need to stop blaming. We need to accept responsibility. And we need to focus on our attitude, because all that dictates our world around us. We have a older child who's also seeing how we respond to the circumstance. How do we want her to respond when she's faced with a situation that she didn't plan for? How do you want the people around you to see how you respond to a situation that you didn't plan for?
Yeah. And in addition to that, the energy that you put out how is that affecting those around you? Right? Because if we decided to blame and not take ownership or do any of this, how could that have affected our daughter who was in the hospital? How could that have affected her being able to thrive if our attitudes were jacked up?
How would it have affected our relationship in our marriage? But we're saying all these things, and you may not think it's related to money, but money has involvement with everything, especially when it comes to your time. Because what happens is we use money to buy time. It's not necessarily our time that we're buying. We're using it to buy other people's time to replace ours. So what you want to do is put yourself in a position to where you have the wherewithal and the mindset to be able to take on all these challenges and put these different things in place so that you can own your own lifestyle. Yeah.
And let's break that down even further. The argument is, are you working for money or is your money working for you? That's really what it boils down to. Are you working for money or is your money working for you? Because if our money wasn't working for us, I don't know how we would have been able to sit by our daughter's bedside every single day for the past 5 months. If we were working for money, one of us would have had to be at work doing our thing, wondering what's happening at the hospital, wondering what's happening with the other person, wondering what's happening with our other child, wondering with right? You see where we're going? So if you do not have your money working for you, you are working for money.
And that even goes back to our fifth point: decide what you want.
Yeah.
You have to decide right now what you want before circumstance decides for you. Because there's always going to be...
Say that one more time. One more time.
You have to decide what you want before circumstance decides for you. Yep. Because time isn't stopping for anybody. And every time you wake up, you're preparing yourself to have another experience that you've never had before. But you can't dictate, when you decide what you want, how you react to life.
And I think we were going to say something.
I was just going to say life is a lesson, and we get an opportunity to learn something new every single day.
Mm-hmm. So the sixth point, I think, is a perfect segue to what you were just talking about, is being intentional. And it's all about waking up every single day with a purpose, with a plan, with something to do. Because going back to, are you working for money or is your money working for you? Is your day running you, or are you running your day? Because how many times do we wake up and next thing you know, it's 11 a.m. Now it's 2, now it's 5, and you haven't been productive. Well, you haven't been productive because you haven't had a plan. You haven't been intentional for your day. And if you want change, if you want to accept responsibility and stop blaming and forgive and have a better attitude and do all these things, you have to be intentional with every single thing that you do every day. Because if you aren't, the time that we keep saying is our most precious asset is going to keep dwindling, and you're going to continue to not have anything to show for it. When we talked about before with our financial experience, we had an entire year go by. When we put both of our salaries together, we made a ton of money, but we didn't have anything to show for it. Mm-hmm. And it's because we were continuing to just let the time go. We were punching a clock, not thinking about anything, not being intentional. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this is where we were. And then we look up and go, man, we don't have any money in savings. It's been 18 months. We got $20 in the savings account, $100 in the savings account. How intentional are you being with your day?
Right. And you have to be intentional where you place value. Because here's one situation where you're spending your time working for money. Money doesn't have any value because it can be printed. If something can be printed on demand, it doesn't have any value, but yet we spend all of our time trying to work for it.
Oh, nuggets.
Now, on the other hand, if our money's working for us and we have time, see, that's where the value is. That's where we learn the value is, because we're able to spend it with our family right now during the most important time of each one of our girls' lives.
Yes. Wow. I wish we could run that one back. 7 is compete with no one. Compete with no one. Why is this so important? Because we're so much we constantly are trying to keep up with the Joneses. So-and-so just bought a new car. So-and-so just bought a new house. So-and-so's doing this. So-and-so's doing that. What does it matter?
We have no idea what they're going through behind closed doors, or what experiences they're having as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And then when we do have...
Well, not only that, how does that affect your pockets? Right? How does whatever somebody's doing affect what you got going on? And why do we accept that pressure? Why do we look at whatever somebody's doing and go, oh, well, I got to get a new car. I got to do this or I got to do that. Why do we do that? And it's because of this false intention that's out there of us trying to keep up with the next person and us competing. So you have to stop competing with the next person.
And it's also really good branding by the experts at these car companies, because what they do is they make it feel like they make us feel a certain way when we have their brands, when we're driving their cars. It's making us feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. So kudos to the marketers out there that's making people feel like they need this particular car or brand, because what they're doing is they're suggesting to you on how to get your money that you work hard for.
Absolutely. Now, the next thing that we want to chat about is checking in with yourself.
We mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm. And being honest, being truthful, looking in the mirror, having those conversations, and not faking the funk. Don't fake it till you make it. Be real with yourself. Check in. How are you feeling mentally? Where is your mind at? How are you feeling physically? Right? How are you emotionally, spiritually? You have to check in with every one of those categories, because you could be doing great in one and you could be tanking in another. And yet you're out here walking around with a smile on your face, as you should anyway, because you should be happy and positive with whatever you do, but you're not being honest. You're not being honest with yourselves, and what happens? Then you continue to fake the funk, and you're just not living life. You're not being intentional. So that's why today, with all of these points that we're sharing with you, it's everything that we have had to go through, not only just in life, but relive everything all over again and recheck in with ourselves. Have we really been happy? Have we really been intentional with not only our relationship, but our business? Are we really surrounding ourselves with the people that we truly love? We had to stop and think about those things, because when everything is literally taken away from you in an instant, the only thing that you can do is be honest.
And I think a lot of times what we like to do when it comes to checking in with ourselves, while we like to be distracted by other things, is because we may not like what we have to say to ourselves. But the thing is, the more we avoid it, we still get to see the results every single day in our lives. So the more we
do you like those results?
And do you like those results? Because the more we can take responsibility and check in with ourselves about how we're feeling and what we want for ourselves, we don't have to worry about the results that we continue to get day in and day out that we don't want.
Yeah. Now, Wealth Nation, like we said, this is a slight change from everything that we talk about, which has to do with money. And what we want to do is, with what we've just been through recently, we want to make sure that the messages that we continue to put out there are continuing to inspire you, continue to empower you, but we want you to think about things differently. And I want to apologize if everything that we've ever been talking about was just money related, because really it was never about money, right? We were just teaching you how to be better with money, but it was never about money. Money isn't going to change our current circumstance.
Time will.
Time will. Our attitudes will. And so we want you to make sure that you understand that as you're going throughout your life, that it's never about money. It's about you and how you decide to move forward with everything that you do, with what your actions that you decide to take. And so we hope with this video that we've created, it allows you to take a moment, stop, check in with these 8 points that we went through, and figure out how you're going to move forward so that you can be better.
Right. And one of the questions is, are we still banking? How can you not bank? And the reason being is every dollar is created through a banking system, which is through the creation of debt. So we may not necessarily be in the right position that we want to be in that particular totem pole, but it's something that we have to do every single day. And once you know it, once you learn it, there's no way you can not do it. Now, 100 years ago or some time ago, the system required to where there was slavery, right? And maybe a little left field, it was slavery. But what happened is slavery didn't necessarily go away. It just changed its outfit. And the outfit that it now has is your employer, who is now the person that you're working for. Now, the money that you do get, you don't get to keep it because you have to go and pay it on debt. So is slavery gone, or is it still here just wearing a different outfit? And there's another example of how can you control an elephant? You get them when they're young, and you can tie them to a pole. Rope. You can tie them to a pole, and they can't break that pole. But when they get older, they can break it. But their mindset has been adjusted to where they don't think they can break it. Their mindset is what keeps them captured. It keeps them captured. That's the same thing with us. The way we think is keeping us a slave in our own minds, in our own houses, a slave in our own cars, a slave to taxes. Why? Because we go out and we work a job, we trade our time, we get money, and then we go and give that money back to somebody else's employer or back to the bank. That's capitalism, that's banking. But what we can do is we can change the way we think and change our results. And it's not until we decide to own our lifestyle where we take responsibility, we stop blaming, we forgive, we check in with ourselves, that we can break those chains of slavery.
We no longer are the elephant tied to the pole.
No longer the elephant tied to the pole.
Yeah, you break that rope.
So what we want you to do is we have a community of like-minded people that think the same way. And there's no way that you can do this on your own. We tried. That's why we created a community, so that we can also talk about the things that are affecting us financially and mentally, because it's all connected. So if you want to join a community of like-minded people, please click on the link below and join the Money School community.
And more than now, ladies and gentlemen, you see the financial climate that we're in. Like Darius said, are we still banking? Absolutely. If anything, we're banking even more aggressively than we have before because of what we've been through. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting to know that we're insurance agents who sell insurance, but we have a child right now who has a diagnosis who is uninsurable. That's completely changed our perspective of things that we can do and our opportunities and things that we can get into. Mm-hmm. And we have to change our attitude and our mindset around that.
Right.
So remember, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to always take ownership, stop blaming, start taking action for your lives. And if you want to know how to bank yourselves the right way, go ahead and click on the next video.
Remember to own your own lifestyle,
or someone else will.